Alright, so since I am currently in the final stages of my line editing process for Alexia Legends Book 2, I thought today would be a good time to share my personal process for line editing before beta readers. So my beta reader process for book 2 is closing in really quickly, and I am finishing up the first part of my line edits for Alexia Legends Book 2. The bulk of my changes for editing books usually comes during this part of the process, so this takes quite a few months usually. So this video is going to be about the first part of my line editing process, which happens before my beta readers get to read the book. After my beta readers hand in their comments and suggestions, I have a whole nother process for implementing their ideas into the book. I'll probably be making a video on that process after I get to that stage with this book. My main goal for this edit is to get an enjoyable story that's easy to read for my betas. So to do that, I have a few different things that I'll be looking for while I'm editing. This includes things like removing any bits of poor writing that might be distracting so that the beta readers can give me feedback on the things I'm looking for at this point. It kind of seems a little backwards that you would be cleaning things up at this stage before beta readers get a chance to comment on things like character or even story events. But if beta readers are distracted by things like poor writing quality, they won't be able to give feedback as easily on things like character when there's lots of little things standing in the way of that. Now that's not to say I'm trying to make every word perfect for the beta readers. That is definitely not the case. If I tried to make the book perfect before they even saw it, they would never see it. Ask me how I know. But I do want to, of course, make sure it is a presentable piece of work before that anybody sees it. So yeah, I am doing more than just cleaning it up, but I'm definitely not trying to make it perfect at this stage either. And as for someone who wants to finish these books in a more timely manner than I have previously, the idea of big rewrites and wasting a bunch of time is a genuine fear of mine. So to bring the book up to the level that I need, I have a 5-step process for each scene that I go through. And every pass, I'm looking for something a little different so that hopefully I can catch everything that I need to make this scene the best quality that I can for the beta readers. At this stage in editing, I'm still just looking at one scene at a time versus a chapter on a whole, because personally working on a whole chapter at a time can be a little distracting when I'm trying to do line edits, so at this point I'm still just doing one scene at a time. Later on in the editing process, usually after the beta readers, I will go more chapter by chapter, but yeah, at this point I just need to have a little bit smaller sections to work with at a time. That is just way easier for my process. So at this stage, I have already finished all my developmental edits for this book, so while I'm still keeping an eye out for things like continuity, I have already sorted through a lot of that stuff by now. So my first pass of line editing is just me going through it very slowly and changing the things that I see as I go. Mostly things like pace, clunky dialogue, polishing up descriptions, other things like that. I'm paying super special attention at this point to my pace because that can be a big problem for me. A lot of the things that I need to work on for this are slowing down during characters' dialogue and putting in what they're thinking or feeling in between. Making sure the setting and the scene are well set is also something I'm doing a lot at this stage. I'm an underwriter, so a lot of these things like making sure the weather and the setting and the descriptions of everything are all at the right pace in the right places. Those are a lot of the things that I'm editing for at this point as well. Something else I come across a lot during this stage of my editing is awkwardly phrased things. I have this habit of overly describing something so that I can get to what I'm actually trying to say. So I have like little chunks of overwriter sections inside my underwritten scenes. So you'll have tons and tons of this is what I'm trying to make the character think. And so I have, a paragraph and a half of trying to explain how and why they feel something. And then I get to this point and I'm like, that is way too much. You could have said it in 2 sentences. So I kind of laugh at myself a lot during this stage, especially how I phrase something can be kind of awkward and funny in places, so this is where I clean a lot of that up. And most of my scenes are around 1,000 words long at this point. Let's say out of all my editing stages, this is probably the one where I add the second most amount of words. My developmental edit actually probably adds the most amount of words, but I rarely have a scene that comes in under 1,200 after my first pass of line editing. At this point, I'm pretty much done changing around events, except for really small things, like if a character starts to say something and then they start walking, or if I decide to change it and make them walk and then say it. Anything like that that won't really impact the story or anything, but it will just make the pace better. That is also something that changes the most during this section of editing. So next I hand it over to my critique partner for her suggestions, and then the next pass is me making and implementing her changes. My CP and I kind of like to do line edit suggestions and content suggestions in the same pass. That just works well for us. And I usually start sending her chapters when I'm about 1/3 of the way through the first step of this line editing process. And then after I implement my CP suggestions, I move on to the third pass, which is using ProWritingAid. At this stage, I use ProWritingAid to fix things like sentence length, flow, word usage, grammar, those sorts of things. My most used ProWritingAid features are 1, the writing style checker, which makes suggestions for readability enhancements, points out passive and hidden verbs, repeated sentence starts, and emotion tells. Also the echoes check, which highlights any words or phrases that you repeat in a short amount of time. and the Sticky Sentence Finder, which highlights sentences with high % of glue words. So these are words like in, on, the, will, go, new, and by. These words just make sentences difficult to read, and sometimes I don't catch them because I'm the one who wrote the sentence, so I know what it means, but it can kind of make them confusing or boring to read. I might like to make a video on how I use ProWritingAid and kind of the features that I enjoy. I could even use one of my own chapters, I guess. I don't know if that would be interesting or just embarrassing or what, but I don't know, might be kind of fun. After I've made all my changes with ProWritingAid, I need to read through it thoroughly to make sure that none of my changes have made anything sound weird. This doesn't usually take that much time, only about twice the time it would take to read it if you were just reading it normally at a regular speed, mostly just because I like to reread a lot of parts to make sure things come off the right way. And finally, the fifth pass is the audio pass, where I copy each scene into a text-to-speech program and listen to it while following along. This catches a lot of typos, but also will point out any places that are still a little too awkward for me to send to betas. To be honest, this is definitely my least favorite part of the process. I find this to be so tedious, and the robot voice is so annoying after like 10 minutes. I don't like doing it, but it definitely needs to be done, and it catches a lot of errors. It drives me crazy sometimes. I try to switch off between these last 3 passes of each scene so that I'm not doing audio pass all day, because that would drive me insane. So yeah, I like to do just a little bit of the audio pass each day while I'm working on it, if I can. As for my timeline for this part of my editing process, this is where my plan has gone a little awry. As I've said in some of my videos before I started working on Alexia Legends 2, kind of while I was outlining actually, I made a big plan for how long each step of the process was going to take me from outlining to publication. So far my guesstimations, because they really are guesstimations, not even estimations, have been pretty close for each step of the process, but this is where things kind of took a turn for the slow. Originally I planned to be done with line edits by October 15th, but by August it was clear that I was not going to make this. I think I've been doing line edits since July, but if that's not right, I will put it on the screen. Yeah, I don't even want to guess how long the rest of the line edits are going to take me, because I feel like this is going to be going on for eternity. Yeah, but I am closing in. I'm done with the first pass, so you know, the really bulky, time-consuming line edit pass for the whole thing, which is awesome. I have 5 chapters left of CP edits to add. That doesn't usually take that much time, and all the rest of the book needs the rest of the edits after CP. So ProWritingAid, and then reading it, and then audio pass. So not too bad. We're getting there. But yeah, about half the book is totally done with this, ready for betas, which is exciting. The rest will be done soon-ish. First pass takes the most time and energy, and so after that it's not too bad. If you'd like to dive into the world of Alexia, you can read Age of the Gods, which is a free short story I have available on my website. I will link that down below. You can follow me over on Instagram at SidFaithAuthor, and I guess that is all I have for you guys today, so thanks for watching. Bye!